Here's section 1 of your script, keeping it sharp, witty, and to the point with 1000 words of high-quality adult comedy, dark humor, double entendres, and relationship humor. Section 1, 1000 words. The interrogation room smelled like cheap sanitizer and arrogance. XYZ sat with her arms crossed, tiny but exuding the confidence of a warlord twice her size. 3 feet of battle-scarred muscle, wrapped in shimmering exosuit armor, glaring at the human scientist sitting across from her. Marcus Steele, tall, broad, and annoyingly calm, leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. So, let me get this straight. You came to our planet to evaluate us, and the first thing you did was laugh at human men? XYZ let out a sharp, barking laugh. I have seen your species mating data, human. Pathetic. She smirked, waving a hologram into existence. A shimmering image of an alien male appeared, *8 feet tall, rippling muscles, and a third arm purely for stabilization, *. Marcus barely blinked. So, what I'm hearing is that your species is compensating. XYZ grinned, leaning in. What I'm hearing is that you are no match for an actual warrior. A soft chuckle from Marcus. You ever heard the phrase, it's not the size, it's the motion of the ocean? XYZ scoffed. The ocean? Your species drowns before reaching shore. The other human scientists exchanged nervous glances, but Marcus only smirked. He knew exactly what she was setting up. The trap. The challenge. So, he continued, what you're saying is that no human male could possibly satisfy an alien female. Not a chance. Wanna bet? The room went silent. One of the other scientists choked on his coffee. XYZ's mandibles clicked in amusement. A wager? How delightful! She leaned forward, eyes glinting with predatory amusement. Fine. If you prove me wrong, I will concede that human males are acceptable. And if I lose? Oh, simple. I parade you across the galaxy as the smallest man in the universe. Marcus raised an eyebrow. That's a very specific title. Got experience handing those out? XYZ snarled, but Marcus only laughed. All right, deal. She extended a clawed hand, and they shook. The scientist next to Marcus muttered, This is the most reckless decision in human history. Marcus only grinned. Relax. I've done my research. Hours later. The human testing chamber was suspiciously luxurious. Satin sheets, dim lighting, a suspiciously stocked minibar. XYZ glanced around, arms crossed. This looks less like a science lab and more like a desperate human mating den. Marcus shrugged, rolling up his sleeves. Same thing, really? She scoffed, removing pieces of her armor. Fine. Let's get this over with. I will not be impressed. Marcus smirked, closing the distance between them. Oh, sweetheart, he murmured, voice dropping an octave. You already are. Section 2, 1000 words. XYZ was still smirking as she let her armor clatter to the ground, standing proud, arms crossed, exuding warrior confidence. Go on, human. Show me what your fragile kind considers impressive. Marcus didn't rush. He moved with deliberate ease, rolling his shoulders, letting the tension build. You ever hear about the difference between precision and brute force? XYZ's mandibles twitched in amusement. Brute force is the only thing that matters. Marcus let out a soft chuckle, stepping closer, gaze locked onto hers. That's why your kind lose wars. That got a reaction. A flash of irritation crossed her face, her pride taking the hit. You dare imply. Oh, I don't imply. He cut in smoothly. I demonstrate. Her pupils narrowed, and then he moved. His fingers barely ghosted over the edge of her exosuit's neural seams, a touch so light it shouldn't have mattered, except it did. XYZ's entire body jolted, muscles tightening involuntarily. She hissed through her teeth, more from the shock than the sensation itself. That was. Marcus tilted his head, studying her. Sensitive? She scoffed. You got lucky. Marcus hummed, letting his hand trail again, slower this time, watching the way her body responded despite herself. Sure, he mused, tone casual. Let's call it luck. Xyzantha glared at him. He was enjoying this, which made it worse. No human should have been able to affect her physiology this quickly. Her species didn't function like humans. They needed intensity, ferocity. Then he leaned in, voice barely above a whisper. Your body disagrees with you. Xyzantha's claws flexed against her sides, her breathing just slightly off rhythm. It's a biological anomaly. Marcus chuckled. You sure about that? She bared her fangs. You are not special, human. Then why are you shaking? Her jaw clenched. The worst part? She didn't have an answer. Marcus watched her for a moment longer, then leaned back, stretching slightly. You know, I could stop. The challenge in his tone made her snap, her pride outweighing her control. You will not stop, human. You will finish proving your ridiculous point. Marcus smirked. Oh, sweetheart. He rolled his wrists, loosening up like a fighter preparing for a match. That's exactly what I planned to do. Section 3, 1000 words. Xyzantha hated how her body was betraying her. Every touch, every calculated movement from the human sent sharp jolts of sensation through her nerves, reactions she had never experienced before. Her species prided themselves on endurance, aggression, sheer force. Yet here she was, muscles tense, claws twitching, struggling to maintain her composure while he barely seemed to be exerting effort. Marcus noticed. Of course, he noticed. His smirk had settled into something more dangerous now. Confident, assured, like he was simply letting her come to terms with the inevitable. You know, he mused, voice impossibly smooth. For all your talk about size, you sure are responding pretty damn well to something so small. Xyzantha snarled, but the retort died in her throat the second he moved again, shifting his focus, exploiting every newfound weakness he had already catalogued. Trickery, she bit out, as if saying it aloud would make it true. Marcus just exhaled a laugh, warm against her skin. No tricks. Just understanding exactly what makes you tick. Her pulse hammered, her pride warring with instinct. It was impossible. She was stronger than this. She had trained for years, fought in battles across the galaxy. How could one human? Marcus caught her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. You can keep resisting if you want, he murmured. Or... Xyzantha growled low in her throat, body burning with unfamiliar frustration. Or what, human? His thumb brushed over her jaw, slow, deliberate. Or you can admit that maybe, just maybe, you underestimated us. Her breath hitched. Her body betrayed her yet again, instinctively leaning into his touch for a fraction of a second before she forced herself to pull back. I will not admit defeat. Marcus grinned. Oh, sweetheart. His voice dipped lower, thick with amusement. You already have. Section 4, 1000 words. Xyzantha's breath was ragged, her composure slipping with every second. Every flicker of resistance she tried to summon was met with a counterstrike that wasn't forceful, wasn't brutal, it was calculated. The human was picking her apart piece by piece, not with strength, but with precision, with patience. It was infuriating. It was intoxicating. Marcus let her struggle against it, let her war with herself, but he already knew the outcome. He could see it in the way her claws flexed without purpose, the way her mandibles twitched ever so slightly, the way her breath kept catching like she was unfamiliar with her own body's reactions. I'll give you one thing, he murmured, voice laced with amusement. You've got stamina. Xyzantha tried to scoff, but it came out as more of a huff. Do you ever stop talking? Marcus smirked. Not when I'm winning. Her eyes flashed with irritation, a desperate grasp at dominance. You're only winning because this is... Her words broke off as another unexpected sensation tore through her, making her grip tighten involuntarily. She swallowed hard, willing herself to glare at him, but her usual fierce expression faltered. Marcus tilted his head slightly. This is what, exactly? Xyzantha's jaw clenched, the weight of the admission she refused to make pressing down on her. She wasn't supposed to be in this position. Humans were supposed to be inferior, forgettable, weak. Yet here she was, trembling under the touch of one. Marcus leaned in, his voice a low hum. Go on. Say it. Xyzantha's pride flared one last time, but it was fragile now, held together by sheer stubbornness. She didn't want to give him the satisfaction. She hated the idea of giving him the satisfaction. But she hated the idea of this ending even more. Her next breath was slow, measured, her gaze locking onto his with something dangerous beneath it. I may have miscalculated. Marcus grinned. See? That wasn't so hard. Xyzantha growled lowly, but there was no real bite behind it now. You are insufferable. Marcus just chuckled, his fingers trailing once more. And you, he murmured, voice dripping with satisfaction, are going to love what comes next.